of course, connect our audience. So it'll be good. So I'm happy that you're not far. All right,
Mhm.
we're live.
Okay, hello.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, or afternoon, or morning, depending on when and where you're watching this Facebook Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Tuesday session where we talk about things that help us live long and well because we believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. I am Dr. Ola Pinton of Living Spring Family Medical Center here in the amazing city of Mansfield, Texas. And I'm so excited and delighted to have you on here. Now, before I introduce our guest, I always say I'm excited to do this, but I just found out right before we started that she's actually local. So you're in for a treat. But please comment, put your where you watching from. I want to see who's watching, so I can give you a shout out. Our guest, Miss Concita. Did I pronounce that right? I didn't
You
ask.
did it. You did
I
it.
did. I did
You
not.
did it. No, you
I
did.
did. Miss Concita.
Yes, you did it.
Thank you. She's local. She's not far from me. She's in Irving. We're in Mansfield. So I'm so delighted to have her here to talk to our guests. And so thank you so much for coming. I know you're busy and I appreciate you taking the time to come on here to talk about weight loss tips for us folks over 40, man.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So kindly introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? So our guests are fielding. Ooh. Mhm.
Yes. So my name is Concita Thomas, and I'm a food and fitness strategist. I help women over 40 lose 30 or more pounds and keep it off. But the good part is without giving up carbs or sugar. So I'm excited to do that because most of us don't want to give up carbs and sugar. And we do want to get to a healthy weight and we want to be able to stay there. And so being able to help women get their weight loss goals without giving up carbs and sugar is a big part of how I'm able to help them keep the weight off because they're not cycling back and forth between dropping carbs, dropping weight, reintroducing carbs, and regaining the weight.
I love you already.
Thank you.
You had me at carbs because I love rice and bread. Bread is
Don't we? Don't we
great.
all? Right? Culturally familiar food, man. We need the carbs.
All right. So before we go to the next question, I'm so sorry for the men who are watching, but I think you still apply the principles here. She said for women,
Yes.
but you can still hang around. And for those of you watching live, hashtag live, replay, hashtag replay, a friend who should be watching this, go ahead and send them a link so they can join us live. And I'm going to put a link in the comment section. But Miss Concita,
Yes.
how did you start doing this? Because you have a background in engineering.
I do. So all of my degrees are in engineering, but the way that I started doing this, I find the more people I talk to in the helping professions, the more I realize we all have similar stories. It was personal pain turned into passion after we made a pit stop by Triumph, right? So I went away to school to become an engineer. I was an athlete prior to leaving to go to school, track athlete. And when I left to go to school, I did not continue competing in sports, but that's okay. My mom told me I had 8 semesters to get that engineering degree and get back home because she was not paying for semester 9. So while I was away at college, although I had a very healthy childhood, I went to college and I had the full meal plan, which included points for the snack bar. And so more nights than too many nights, instead of eating dinner at the snack bar, eating dinner at the cafeteria, I ate it at the snack bar. So that looked like pizza, it looked like burgers and fries, it looked like things that we ate at my house, like on occasion and in moderation, but this was becoming too big of a part of my diet. Also in that snack bar, they had, I don't know if you remember, but the pints of Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and that was included on my points too. And so like I was going to
Oh, I
town.
remember.
I wasn't overeating in terms of quantity, but like in terms of calories, I was, and my nutrition quality was going down. So I gained the freshman 15, I gained the sophomore 15. I went my first diet around junior year, but somehow still ended up netting a 10-pound gain. And so I often joke that I graduated college almost 3 times the woman that I went. Like when I went to college, I was probably like a size 6. And when I left, like my size 16s were pretty tight. So I did a lot of gaining weight in college. And, for some reason, I wasn't as alarmed as I should be because I was still fit. Like on the occasion that I laced up my sneakers or went to spin class or went for a run, I could still do that. And I had this silly notion, young folks, had this silly notion that I'd just graduate and hire a trainer, I'd be an engineer, I'd have money for that, and I'd have this fabulous transformation. And that's just not what happened. So after working with trainers, getting fitter, faster, stronger, but not necessarily any smaller, it came into my awareness that I really needed to address food. And in order to address it, I really needed to learn about it. So I began doing some self-education around that, of course, along with trying other diets. And I was really, it was the cha-cha slide, right? So I'd lose some, gain it back, lose some, gain it back. Eventually, I did do like a points-based program, and I lost a bunch of weight. And I thought that I had hit success because I finally lost a bunch of weight. I understood that my food played a role, but what I did was not sustainable, and I still did not have the knowledge that I needed in order to keep that weight off without dieting. So what would happen is whenever I tried to return to just eating like a normal person, right? Not counting anything, not tracking anything, I did not have the knowledge nor the habits to do so in a way that sustained my weight loss, which was quite frustrating. So fast forward, several years, lots of study, eventually nutrition certifications, et cetera. And finally, I was able to crack that code. Now, the funny part is, after I had that initial success, part of my success, I told you I'm an engineer, right? So after about the third trainer, I got a personal training certification because I really thought they were like gatekeeping information. I'm like, clearly people's bodies can change. Like, why is mine not changing? And that was when I got a clue, because my personal training certification textbook was about this thick, and there were about 5 pages about nutrition. And so it dawned on me that maybe they weren't really gatekeeping, maybe they just did not know. But by this time, I had a clue that like my food was a part of this. So when I got that initial success, and I became a personal trainer because the trainers at the gym knew me and they needed a trainer. I was certified. At this time, I'm an engineer and a trainer.
Wow.
That's when things got really interesting because now I had success outwardly. I was a weight loss success story, but internally I was struggling so hard because my habits were not sustainable. And if I missed too many appointments with the elliptical, my jeans would be tight. So now I'm trapped because now I'm supposedly a fitness expert, right? I'm on display and I'm struggling. And so the funny part about it is during that time, I was helping clients have transformations.
Wow.
But I was struggling because I was on display and I did not trust to take my finger off of the extreme measures that I had gone to in order to get this transformation. I did not trust that it would also work for me. So I finally just wore myself out. When my husband and I conceived our first child, my son, I was like, woo, okay. Nobody is expecting me to have a 6-pack anymore. Nobody is expecting me to not gain weight. I'm pregnant. I am going to take this time to just eat healthy, not diet, to just exercise, not over exercise, because I've got to figure this out because there is no way that I can keep this up and be a wife, a mom, and a business owner. And furthermore, I don't want to model this behavior for my child. So that was my line in the sand, Dr. O. That was when I said, okay, I am not meal prepping. I'm not going to be going around town with Tupperwares. I'm not going to be at the family reunion with my own food, sneaking in the car. Oh my gosh. Yes, this is a real story. Sneaking in the car at my husband's family reunion in the heat of Florida, eating cold tilapia and green beans while the family reunion food was amazing on the inside because I was a weight loss success story. And so I needed to keep that up.
Concita, I really want to get to the meat of Okay, because you're talking about you didn't want to do the things that are usually commonly done to maintain. But I like, first of all, I have to say I appreciate your honesty and your openness because it keeps it real. It is a struggle, or shall I say, it's a challenge to
Mm-hmm.
maintain habits if it's not if it doesn't work well for you. That's one, and
Mm-hmm.
then two, diets work, but they're not sustainable,
Mm-mm.
and so it has to be a lifestyle. So
Mm-hmm.
that being said, why is it harder to lose weight as you get older?
Okay, so there are a couple things. I'm going to address why we all think it's harder, and then
Okay.
I'm going to address the factors at play that we don't see often or we ignore.
Okay.
So
Okay.
most of us over 40, right, we talk about our metabolism. Oh, my metabolism's slowing down. We hear that all the time. We talk about our hormones. Oh, my hormones are out of whack. And then we even talk about, oh, it's just an inevitable change. It's just I'm going through the change. It's just, it just is what it is. So does our metabolism slow down? Well, some recent studies argue that it doesn't happen nearly as early as we think it does,
We
right?
have no excuse.
So there's that. Do our hormones change? Absolutely. Ask any woman, like you can feel it. Even if you're not gaining weight, something is different. But are the changes inevitable? No. So what I have found to be true, things that I've had to watch even as early as 35, and I think part of that for me was from some of my yo-yo dieting. I think there were some residual effects of doing that. But even with my clients that I work with, is the things we don't pay attention to or we don't acknowledge is most of us at 40 and after are far less active
Yep.
than we used to be when we were younger. Even if we were not an active, sporty kid, just living, walking to school, if we were in college, walking across campus multiple times a day, most of us spend most of our day doing what you and I are doing right now, sitting either at a desk or in a car, carting around family members, right? So wildly less active than usual, and that matters. The second thing that studies do say happen as we age, if we do nothing about it, is we start to lose muscle.
Yep.
So what it takes, and so even the activity that we do when we're going to the gym, we're doing a bunch of cardio to try and burn off the weight. But if we have less muscle, it doesn't take as much energy to move, to move that mass that doesn't have the muscle anymore. And then the thing that we completely ignore, stress and lack of sleep.
Yep.
So there's
About this.
that. So that's at play. And that comes into play. Sometimes the stress and lack of sleep increases hunger, increases cravings. Maybe we're working at our computer and we don't pay attention to the fact that we're mowing down a whole can of nuts trying to stay awake. That happens. And then finally, the big one that people don't even really like to talk about, especially for women, but this happens for men too, especially for those active family men out there, the guilt or not having a way to keep ourselves on the priority list. So we will run from
The
sun
self-care.
up to sundown, doing everything for work, doing everything for family, for church, for community organizations. Yet we'll say, I didn't have time to make a healthy meal. I didn't have time to exercise. And, we just sometimes struggle to allocate that time. Or sometimes we just don't believe that the pockets of time we have in our day are enough. So we're waiting. I hear so many people say, oh, if I can just get a good, clear 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Well, if it hasn't happened in the last 20 years, it's likely not going to happen. So how can we utilize those pockets of the day to move the needle? I find that's really the big one. How do we fit ourselves in, and how do we let go of what we think it has to look like, things we did in our 20s and 30s, and how do we do it, like I like to call it, grown woman style?
Okay. All right. You shared a lot of powerful things. A lot of things I actually talk about in the clinic. And I love how you tied self-care to prioritizing the time to meal prep, the time to actually exercise or move more. We live in a fast-paced world now, and so everything is convenient. We can literally drive from here to next door as opposed to walking. But I like how you bust the myth. You said metabolic rate doesn't slow as quickly as we would like to think. It does slow some, but not as much. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So what are tips for someone who's watching? Is like, okay, fine, I hear you. I'll practice, but I'm busy. I'm
Yes.
busy. How the heck with wifey, mommy, work, church, all the things, how do we throw in where this magical pockets of physical activity that you're
Yes.
talking about?
Yes.
You
So
know,
it first starts with truly understanding what's required and letting go of our old notions of what's required. So every woman that I have ever talked to who has told me those reasons, and I don't call them excuses because unless you know how to leverage what I'm about to share, they truly are reasons. When they give me their reasons, I've never had one say no to this question. So my questions are, do you eat every day? And do you feed your family? Yes, I eat. Okay, so we have time to eat. That's settled. So now it's about understanding. And now everybody doesn't say yes to do you cook every day or even frequently. That's fine. But if you need to understand how to eat for your goals, given where you're already eating, the amount of time you're already spending or not spending on meal prep, the amount of money you're already spending or not spending on food, and with the food preferences that you have. So here is what this looks like. I'm going to give you a real life practical example so that these aren't just concepts. This is something that you can like take to the bank. If you are a busy mom, busy dad, I don't discriminate because so many of my clients tell me, my husband's losing weight faster than me and all he's doing is eating what I'm cooking. And so this applies. Men, don't tune out. But if you're a busy mom or you're a busy dad and your typical Monday through Wednesday is on the way to practices, you roll through Chick-fil-A and you get dinner for everybody. All right, you've already proven that you eat and you have time to get food. So instead of ordering a crispy chicken sandwich, or instead of, getting the 30 nuggets and you're eating 15 of them and there's 15 left for the kids, can we get the market salad? Can we get some grilled nuggets on top of that? If you say, okay, now what you just did is you just took high fat, high starch, probably relatively low protein. You just got vegetables, fiber, protein, depending upon what you put on that salad. Also, I like their low-fat honey mustard dressing. Depending upon what you put on that salad, also, you have also saved some fat, and it didn't take you any more time than you normally take to eat. If you say, well, Concita, I don't like that. I don't like the grilled nuggets. The texture is off. It's got to be fried for me.
Right. Uh-huh.
All right. Well, can you eat, depending upon your protein needs, your body size, and your goal, instead of eating 15 of them, can we get it to 10? And can you get the kale salad on the side and keep?
They have the kale salad with the dressing. Tastes sweet. Yeah.
Oh, good. And keep your hands out of the fries. Can we do that? If you say no,
I can't. Do the small fry?
Right, and I was gonna say, if you say no, I can't give up the fries. Okay. Can we get a small fry? And can we just leave some in the bag? The extra they give you in the bag, can we not eat those too? Can we just get a small fry? Because here's what I'm always telling my client. The body responds to better. So while it may be ideal to go kale salad, grilled nuggets, no dressing, unsweet tea, if your starting point is 15 nuggets, fries, no salad, a large Coke, and you take that down to a small Coke, or if you're even fine with a small or unsweet iced tea, and 10 nuggets and half of a small fry, that's better. And for a lot of people in the beginning, not forever, but in the beginning, for a lot of people, that is enough change to start to move the needle. That's enough change to not feel like you have a brick in your stomach. That's enough change to still have some energy and not feel sluggish after you eat.
But Concita, though, you said something earlier. The stress, I tell my patients this all the time. It's hard to make this good decision when you're tired, when you're stressed, and when you're not taking care of yourself. So the nighttime munchies. So we have people who have to stay up, help the kids, take them to all the games. They come back, then finally they get some me time. Any pointers? Because I actually had a patient tell me that's my me time. You want to take that from me, doc? And I'm like, oh no, that's not what I meant. Any tips for women who are watching who are like, doc, that's my me. That's the only time I get to do me. And
yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I used to call that freedom eating. It's like, I'm finally free. and I need to unwind. I've been pent up all day. I've been serving all day, and now I just want to serve me. I'm finally free. So I have a couple tips. So the first one is to get really, really, really real with yourself, right? Mindset and perspective. I can give all the tips in the world, but if the perspective doesn't line up, then the motivation to even try the tips is not there. So the first thing I would say is, but how do you really feel when it's done? So that's the first thing. We've got to evaluate. We've got to assess. We have got to challenge the stories that we tell ourselves. That's my me time. That's the only time I get to pour into me. Okay. Do you feel poured into when you're done? No. I mean, I've done the, oh my gosh, eat too much. And no, in the moment you feel like you're relieving stress, but the minute it's over, you've got the brick in your stomach, you feel sluggish, and you have regret. So first thing is, okay, so we have to first acknowledge that that's how I unwind. And even though it gives me the illusion of unwinding, I'm not unwound when I'm done. So then we come into the awareness that we need different tools in our toolbox to unwind. One thing I used to do after my son was done, and I did not have the wherewithal. I didn't know that this was helping me in this way, because I told you that was the beginning of my sustainable weight loss journey. After he was born, I was like, okay, I'm done doing it this way. But I had a habit of, when I finally got him down, because he did not like to sleep without his mama, when I finally slid from up under him and got him to stay asleep, I would take a bubble bath. I would take a bubble bath. I would read. I would drink tea. And I did that instead of eating. Now, I did not consciously do that so that I wouldn't eat. I did not know that I was doing that to not eat. That wasn't the purpose. But I felt at the end of that little routine, sometimes I stayed in long, sometimes not long at all, because sometimes he'd wake right back up. But I actually felt refreshed. I felt unwound. So that's one of the routines that I often suggest to my clients who try this out. It may not work for everybody. Everybody doesn't like bubble baths. Everybody doesn't like tea or books. But find some way to unwind. Now, I will also acknowledge it. Sometimes we're also hungry because we've been running all day and serving all day. And this is the first time we can actually eat something that's not lukewarm and that we don't have to share. So if you do also need food at that time, that's fine. Make it nourishing, but make sure it tastes good. This is not the time for the bland chicken breast and the soggy broccoli. Get something with some flavor, whether it be a snack or a meal.
I love how real you are. It's that had to be Suggies. No, this is good. It's
gotta taste good. It's gotta taste good. So if you're someone who has a sweet tooth, right? So experiment with different snacks that are still nourishing that you like. You may now I like Greek yogurt. I like to put a little bit of fruit spread in it, and I like a little bit of granola, a little bit of whipped cream. It doesn't have to be much, but I love that. That's delicious to me. So that might work for someone. But if you're like, girl, Greek yogurt, what? I want no parts of that. That's fine. Experiment. This is what I'm always helping my clients with. This is really the part I do. The nutrition education part, I can teach you that in 30 minutes. But how to make it fit in your life, this is what we work through when we work together. Okay, what do you already like to eat? Start there. What are the snacks that you like? What are the meals that you like? Okay, now how can we tweak them so that they're maybe a little bit higher protein, maybe moderate carbs, maybe not high in sugar, maybe not so high in fat. How do we tweak them? But they have to still taste good, because if they don't, you will eat them and then you will mow down the pantry after that. So how do we come up with that? So to recap, find a way to unwind that really is refreshing to you. And if you also need food at that time of day, find something that is going to make you feel good while you're eating it, but also after you're eating it.
I like that. And for those of you who are watching, if you don't mind, can you put in the comment section, I want to glean from everyone here. What are the themes that you do? Because you said if you have to eat. You did make other suggestions. The bubble bath, I love to read. I actually started reading voraciously recently in the past year or so as a way to self-soothe, because I realized, nighttime. But I want people to share in the comments, what are things that you could do outside of food that helps kind of hug yourself after a long day? And I love how you say we should get creative with our foods. Like it got to taste.
It's got to taste good.
Healthy food does not have to be bad. It's starting with healthier options. You mentioned sweeteners. Do you have any suggestions for natural sweeteners that are still sweet but better for you?
Okay,
My
so
sweet tooth people.
So as I did before, I'm gonna give you tiers, right? I often joke there's levels to this. You get to pick your level. You get to pick. It's like a video. Well, it's not like a video game. In video games, you have to graduate to the next level.
Right.
But I'm gonna give you the levels. Okay. So how do I put this? Unless your doctor has told you that you can't, I prefer to help people figure out how to have real sugar in moderation over artificial sweeteners.
Yes.
Now, the reason being, again, if your doctor has told you you need the yellow, the blue, or the pink packets, then you listen to your doctor. I'm not a doctor and I do not play one on lives. But if that is not the case, then the reason why I say that is because I found through my own personal experience, and I found with talking with many of my clients and people who have never even worked with me, the artificial sweeteners are so much sweeter than real sugar. So then everything needs to be hyper sweet. Over time, you get used to that. You can't even taste that an apple tastes sweet because you've hijacked your taste buds. You need more and more over time. And guys, I'm going to keep it real with you. This is coming from the girl who used to use like 5 packs of Splenda in her oatmeal. Okay. So I'm being very transparent about this. And I also found that the more artificial sweeteners I used, the hungrier I was. I have not double-checked the science.
Science agrees.
Okay. Because something about like your body, the taste buds and your it works together. You taste sweet, the body's like, okay, sugar coming, get the insulin ready, and then nothing comes, and then it's like, okay, the insulin's ready, there's nothing there, and you're hungry and you're craving. I found when I gave up the diet soda and the artificial sweeteners, things normalized. And this also happened because when I was pregnant, I gave up coffee. I gave up artificial sweeteners. I was like a crunchy granola mom, right? This baby's going to be like, have the best chance at life, right? So I gave up all of that. And all of a sudden, an apple was sweet. A banana was extremely sweet. So I say real sugar in moderation. So that's level 1, right? But if you're like, if I have some sugar, I'm going to have it all. I can't do that. Then I would say, okay, maybe like monk fruit sweetener, maybe stevia, because those they're not going to elevate your blood sugar, and they're natural, right? They're not like the sucralose or acesulfame K and all that kind of stuff. However, for the most part, it's my goal with my clients who want to and who can to get them to a point where they can, if they want an iced tea, they can get it a quarter sweet, an eighth sweet, and the rest unsweet, and taste that sweetness and be satisfied with it. But I say use what you have to on your journey. If that is not where you're able to start, if you're like, you don't understand, I do 5 Cokes a day. And, if Diet Coke is my entry point and I have to do that for a while, do that. But stay mindful, pay attention. Are you experiencing more hunger? Are you experiencing more cravings? If so, that's your signal to move around. But if not, everybody's different. I don't claim to be an expert on everybody's individual body, but what I can do is tell you what to look out for so that you can make informed decisions for yourself. And that's something you want to look out for if you're using artificial sweeteners.
Wow. All right. We have 2 minutes left. I didn't even scratch the surface when it comes to questions. This was really, really good. I love how down to earth you are. I love how real you keep it, and meeting people where they are seems to be your approach, and then kind of encouraging them, the higher tiers. So that's good. Let's talk quickly. Stress management. Women, we don't do the self-care really well. So any pointers, because, I know there's a self-care movement. I struggle with that too. Just put yourself first. That doesn't quite resonate with me.
Exactly.
Quite, but how do we learn to put ourselves on the list as far as priorities? Any tips? Anything to encourage our viewers?
Yes. I say first assess where you are, right? Assess where you are because everybody's a little bit different in terms of what they have capacity for. And you're right. I think in certain communities, just culturally put yourself first. That's like record scratch. It's like, oh no, like the ancestors are like, what? No, that is, yeah, no, we're not doing that, right? So to put yourself on the list, figure out where you can squeeze yourself in as well. So like some practical tips, when I'm at my children's sports practices, right? And they have a lot of those. I don't have to sit in the bleachers and watch them practice the entire
Be that mama.
every practice. I don't. So I may watch the first 10 minutes. I may watch the last 10 minutes. I may go sit in the car and listen to music. Often I call it turn waiting time into walking time. Often I will get a walk during that time, whether it's the parking lot of the building where they are or I go somewhere else. Other times I will leave, I will go to Starbucks, I will get myself a tea and I will sit there with nobody calling my name because I'm still putting what they need on the list. They're getting their activities, they're getting their enrichment. I'm supporting them in that way, but I'm also supporting me at the same time. So I think for those of us who struggle to put ourselves on the list, find ways where you can do double duty. Like where can you put yourself into the equation without taking away from anyone else? Because when my daughter's head is in the water, when she's at swim practice, she's not looking for me. She's not looking for me. She's looking for air. And so it doesn't bother her at all that I'm not there for the entire hour.
Yeah, you're ready. She's not looking for you. She's
looking for air. Yeah. No, you can't even see me.
I love it. I love it. Another point that I'll share, I found like I do love my kids reading. So sometimes I'll have them read to me the books that I want them to read, but they refuse to. So they read it to me. They think they're reading to me, but it helps them. And we spend time on the bed. I'm laid down, I'm relaxed, not hunched over, like trying to, you got to read it. We're all relaxed. They read it to me. And then like we have dialogue, meal prepping, involving them with the meal prep. How about you cut this, you cut this, you chop this. So that way we're all involved in it too. Asking for hugs and saying, today I can't cook so much. I'm going to do peanut butter and sugar-free jelly or something. Yeah. So those like asking for what you need and not getting mad at people around you who are.
Absolutely.
COVID taught
me that. And no is a full sentence, right? So no is a full sentence. So understanding when to say no, but a lot of times we're afraid of that. But I have just found that even with my family, people value my yes so much more because they know I mean it. And when I say yes, I show up. I want to be there. You can feel that energy. And when I say no, they know that a yes is coming, but that time was just no. So I have told my children since they were both about 2 or 3, mommy's a person too. I say that all the time. And my husband thought it was so strange. But in this line of work, I had seen so many women that had lost that personhood in motherhood that I was just hyper aware that I wanted everybody to know I'm a person too. I'm tired. I love you, but nope, I don't want to play right now, but I can play in 30 minutes or I can play tomorrow. I'm really tired. I want to go to sleep. And I think it's healthy to model for our children and for those around us, because when we do that and when we do it lovingly and not bitter, we model that behavior and we show them how to do that too. And one thing I think about all the time is like, would I want my kids to do what I'm doing? And if the answer is no, then okay, then I can tell them no, because I would not want to see them run themselves completely into the ground. So I'm not going to model that for them.
Wow, that's powerful. Please put yourself on the list for those mamas out there, women taking care of other people. Please put yourself on the list. And ask for what you need to. That's an okay thing to do. And all the people, all the things, all the systems in place that are tied to your well-being will survive and thrive if you're taken care of. So it makes sense to do so. I wasn't always on this school of thought. I used to think the self-care movement was a selfish movement, but but I'm glad that I'm understanding that better. And this discussion is also helpful as well. So thank you so much for coming. We're past time, but this was so powerful. Please, if you resonated with things she shared, if you got a gem or two, I need you to, show her some love in the comments. Let her know, like, Concita, this was good. Let's have you come back again. We're going to do a part 2 because I didn't touch half the questions I was going to ask you. I think I asked you 2.5. 2.5. This is good. This is so good. This is so good. All right. Thank you all for watching. I learned a lot from this. And those of you watching, as always, caring and sharing. Please share, tag, follow, subscribe. But before we wrap up, Concita, you're local to us. Where can people find you if they want to work with a coach like you to help them to the next level in their wellness and weight loss journey?
Yes, so they can find me on Instagram and on Facebook as Concita Thomas. I keep it very simple. I also have a podcast that I will be, it has over 145 episodes. It's called The Fierce Life with Concita. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, all the places. And as of Sunday, it will have a new name and new episodes dropping. Can't say yet because I haven't changed it yet, but so if you just go and check out the podcast I have already, The Fierce Life with Concita Thomas, you will already be connected when the change comes, when the new drops on Sunday.
It's called The Fierce. I'm typing, sorry. The Fierce
Life with Concita.
Yeah. Concita. That's the Concita. That's a podcast, and I'm going to drop her social media links as well. And so Jackie Terry said this was great. So thank you. Sherry Love gives you a heart sign. So heart there. LaRonda J says great chart and very helpful information. Thank you so much. So there she is on the website, on the web, on Instagram. Oh, you make it very easy. Everything is Concita Thomas. Very good.
I try.
Like her. How do they book with you though? Is that on the website as well?
So yeah, so right now the best thing that they can do is just DM me. Just DM me like ready. DM me ready and I will respond.
Okay. That's a one okay, ready. I like it. I like it. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate your time and I look forward to doing a part 2 with you on this. This was very, very empowering for our viewers.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Good night, everyone.
All right, everyone. Thank you all for watching. As always, if you or anyone you know is looking for an awesome, thorough, and compassionate family physician in the Mansfield, Texas area, Dallas area, who will help you live long and well, I am she. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you again, Concita. I'm so